Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode 5 of my NHL 22 Wishlist series, where I go through all of the questions and comments and things that you guys want to see implemented into NHL 22, or just your complaints about 21. And then I kind of break down and see if they are viable changes, or if it's something kind of a pipe dream, more of really you just misunderstand what is actually happening in the background in terms of developers and things like that. As a game changer, it's kind of my job to take all of the comments that you guys get and then relay them to the developers as, again, be the voice for you guys. So we're going to pick up where we left off. If you haven't watched the other ones, go take a look because we've gotten a lot of great ideas already. And I'm still just going through the first episodes, comments and questions. And again, if you want to take a look at my top 5 things that I personally want to see in NHL 22, go look at that video. It's the NHL 22 wish list. And yeah, all right, let's get into the questions and comments from the last video. All right, we'll take a look here. And we will start with Don't Taves Me as I drink my morning coffee, guys. Kind of a ritual here. And if you guys are coffee drinkers, go check out King's Coast Coffee. Use code NOSLEEVES, 10% off, the best coffee on the planet. All right, that being said, Don't Taves Me says, I feel like the base card rating should have more of a gap than an 81 for Saad and an 87 for McDavid. Either drop the ratings of players who aren't stars or make the superstars way better. And if you stop handing out a dozen prime times a day, that would help from players getting too high too quick ratings-wise. So, all right, a couple things here. Base ratings always seems to be a hot button topic because this video game works so different than other ones. Like, if you look at Madden or MLB, I use MLB as an example because I think it's the best Ultimate Team mode, and it's not even close when it comes to MLB 21 compared to other games. That being said, it's very difficult for ratings because, A, they're capped at 99, so in MLB, hitting stats are actually capped at 125, so that means you can have a contact hitter that has 125 contact hitting, but he's got like 40 power, but his overall still goes up. In NHL, if you want to have a dominant player that's like 90 overall, he's probably going to have high body checking, a decent face-off rating if he's a centerman, all of that kind of stuff. There isn't really stats that you can kind of burn. So it's always difficult when it comes to ratings. Because on one hand, I agree that the 81 Saad like maybe a little high, but 87 for McDavid, if you start him any higher, because he's got such high skating, he's such a dominant card, it's almost like too high early on. Honestly, this is always going to be one of the biggest problems in NHL, because here's the ultimate issue. It's always speed. So if you take speed, okay, no matter what, whoever has the highest speed is usually the best kind of card. And if you're too big, even if you're big and you have an unbelievable, we'll use Brett Hull for an example, because Brett Hull's shot is always amazing at the beginning of the game, but he's so slow that you really can't use him because skating is, at the end of the day, the best. I don't know what they should do. Some people have brought up the thought of, why don't you start cards in like the 70s, and let their overalls increase. That way, if you start the overalls in the 70s, you could have like an 85 overall skating or even a 90 skating for McDavid, but the rest of his stats aren't insanely high where, there's room for growth essentially, but that's hard to market. Like, would you be excited, say you're new to the game, would you be excited at launch for a 75 overall card? The hardcores would understand, but it's just hard from a marketing standpoint. So I don't know. In terms of prime times, I hate the current prime time thing. I honestly do. I think that there's just too many. I don't like. It feels like it's just a throw in. They don't feel special enough. There needs to be a way to implement them. I said this about Hut Champs, where you should get a Team of the Week choice pack and get 3 random Team of the Week cards. That would give Team of the Week more value. Prime time should be the same kind of way, or make it like insanely valuable, kind of like what they do with NHL Moments right now, where if they get a moment card, it's only in the game for a day and it's really rare. Like, it's very highlighted. So I'm not sure what the ideal play here is, but I agree. I agree with some of this, man. All right, so Dow Cup series says, Rivals is so stupid. I go into a game, lose 13-2, and I lose skill rating. So I'm versing someone like 4 divs higher to me. Like, how does that even happen? So the worst place to be in Rivals is Division 2, somewhere where I was stuck for quite some time until I, had to just get better at the game. Like, that was it. The issue here is that Rivals is meant to make you go 500. So when you get to a certain point, so say you haven't played the game at all, but you're a good player, or maybe even just an average player, you're going to cruise through the first few games, or maybe like the first 10, 15, and then you're going to hit your level, like your division, and it's going to hard match you. Usually it goes about 50 skill points in either direction, but if there isn't anyone playing, it'll queue up much higher than that. So obviously that's a little bit of an issue, but it's a lot better than what it was like in online seasons. Online seasons, the thing would expand insanely fast, and you would just be able to crush people, especially if you were a decent player, because no one played it as much. But that being said, what's happening is you're going to win a bunch of games in a row. And if you win a bunch of games in a row and you haven't really changed anything but your gameplay, what'll end up happening is you'll get too high and you get crushed and you'll lose a bunch. And it, again, just designed to make you go 500 until you change things mechanically about your game. The worst part is Division 2. Because in Division 2, you go to search for a game immediately. So you should be searching for other Division 2 players. And even if you're at the bottom of Division 2, maybe in Division 3 players. The problem is that at Division 1 is so hard to hit in this game. It is very difficult. If you can get to Division 1, you are a very good player in NHL 2021. You're essentially like, sorry for the meme here, but you're like a top 1,000 player in the game, essentially. If you can get to Division 1, because there isn't that many of us that, you can actually get up to 2150. That's a lot. But the problem is that when we go to search, right, there's a lot fewer of us in Division 1. So they open up the queue so that we can find games. The problem is that it doesn't happen for Division 2. So in Division 2, you're going to search immediately and you find some guy who's in Division 1 that's been searching for 5 minutes and it's bang right there. So that's the unfair part about matchmaking. I was really frustrated by this when I was stuck because as a streamer, obviously, I attract a lot of guys that want to, embarrass me on stream or anything like that. So I would literally just play the same 5 guys over and over again because they would just snipe my stream and they'd be searching and I can't do anything about it because I've got to match up against them because their queue has been open way wider. So I just had to get better. But that's why you're running into issues like this. Seven Curse says, all I want is Fedorov. Bonus points for full Russian 5. So when it comes to any big name guys, like big name players, we'll use Yager, for example, or Hasek. It means they haven't signed in to be in the NHL alumni for this last year. So every so often, like they'll sign back in or they'll sign like it's not an EA thing. Like if trust me, Nicholas, the content developer, he would love Fedorov. Like there is a ton of players. He's a big 90s hockey guy. Like he would love to throw these guys in. It's all just contract stuff there, and especially if you're in other leagues. So like Yager, for example, is in another league that I don't know if they have a contract with. So Don from Regular Show, they need to make the best cards in the game easier to get for casual players. I played the show for 5 hours and already have a better team than that in the hut playing the entire year. The gold collectible system needs to go. Okay. 1000% agree. If you guys I mentioned this a lot. So if you guys remember back in NHL 18, the market had a thing that was it broke so bad that like you just couldn't it's hard to explain. Everything was so inexpensive that everyone had ended up having the same cards. And everyone was like rich essentially. Like everyone, the market it completely collapsed. It was because of a couple things. There was a really big issue when the World Juniors happened. I think the bronze cards, they were actually technically like event items, but they were considered bronze cards. So you can open bronze packs and you just have all of these cards. That and like the ice sets and the ruby sets and all of that. Like it just tanks the market. So now what they've done over the last 3 years is really fix it so the market is in a good spot. Like if by what I mean by a good spot is that like you pack that Miro Heiskanen card or you invest in that Miro Heiskanen card at the beginning of the game, you had a good card that held its value for like 3 months. That's unheard of in NHL. Now the other side of this issue is that it's way too protected. Like I don't know what it is. There must be a system in place that, tells them what's going on in the market, things like that, because I don't see it. I don't really see the issue as to giving out more avenues to free good cards. Like, it just seems like they're scared to do it, or they have a model where, they just want it to be really random. Like I just don't understand it. I really don't. More than any other Ultimate Team mode, it is very difficult to acquire a high-end card. And for the most part, these events that happen every 2 weeks, they lose their excitement because 50% of your, no, 75 probably percent of your player base can't afford to get a card from every event without spending a lot of money or getting an insanely lucky pull. And my biggest thing is the lack of guaranteed items as well as the ability to actually get cards. So I pitched a while ago, like the ability to get free cards or a master item for free, and that Style Icons event ended up happening, and they gave away Matthews for free. Now, the one issue that we run into is in an NHL 19, they gave you a free legend every single month for free. And the problem is everyone loved that. But then everyone complained because everyone has the same team like 3 or 4 months in. But if you make the cards close enough in value, you can get to a point where it's very difficult. So even the Style Icons event, if you didn't take Matthews, Ovechkin was a really good choice. And if you had a stacked offense, Subban wasn't awful either. So I think if you have more events like that, I think that's too easy to get. But the NHL Moments one, where it was like you could get a master item for like half the cost if you did all the objectives, that's the sweet spot. But yeah, I agree. It's an absolute mess. I don't know about getting rid of the gold collectible system because I don't know how you could replace it. Like, I don't know the alternative. So, Calgary boy, they need to fix the goalie mechanic. I've been through 7 good goalies. They need to fix the goalie mechanic. I've been through 7 good goalies. They can't make a save. When I play a good deed in front of the goalie, they should also do the challenges where you earn packs and players through conquest or starter collections, like MLB The Show. There should be an XP reward path where just playing the game will unlock you things. 100% agree. I think that would be a really good addition. In terms of goalie, man, no disrespect, but the goaltender stats, getting a good goaltender, how do I say this? Okay. How I rate a good goaltender is not by how many goals he lets in or anything like that. It's how many times that I see a play happen and I expect it to go in and it doesn't because my goaltender makes an unbelievable save. That's how I rate a goaltender, because if you play 20 games with every goaltender, yeah, maybe 30, you will end up seeing the goals against and save percentage get eerily close no matter the goaltender. You might have one that's an aberration, but yeah, you will see. It's your defense, man. And it might be you're playing really late in the year, so the goaltenders that you try, you got to remember that all the shooting stats are at 99. This isn't how NHL is developed and designed to play. 99 HUT is the worst. And there's no way to get around it because, as the year progresses, all Ultimate Team modes get to 99. Hockey's is impacted the worst. So it's very difficult. So, you might want to try different defensive things. Watch my defense videos. But take a look. In all honesty, because of how easy it is to score on the back door and things this year, a lot of people's goaltender stats and like just goals against went up this year. A good goals against like measurement is like 3 goals against and above 75% save percentage. If you're above that, that's not a bad goalie. All right, Jonathan Morris, my main idea revolves around gameplay. All right, revamp the dynamics. Ooh, this is a long one. Revamp the dynamics every single game in Rivals. I can tell you if it's going to be an actual good game or match from playing to someone who's cracked the game and only relies on broken mechanics. The face-off play, holding away to become untouchable, half spins constantly. Every rush against holding pocheck. While still getting the pocheck the self-sauce down the boards, holding passes away to force cross creases. The gameplay is so stale because the mechanic exists and are exploited constantly. If this game was treated as realistic hockey sim, like it was labeled to be, fundamental hockey should still be key: positioning, good passing, opening up lanes. Instead, it's the use of these broken mechanics effectively, and you win. Defending these breaks isn't impossible, but it is tiresome and makes playing a dull grind. If actual hockey plays, good zone cycles, and spacing actually got chances through the gameplay would feel much more rewarding. My favorite games are when it is someone who doesn't use these broken mechanics and makes a great play to beat me. If I'm matched up against somebody who does constantly use them, my whole demeanor changes into shutting down those forces and playing defensive and limiting my own offensive chances, making gameplay hard. As it should be, there shouldn't be easy outs for good defensive coverage. There shouldn't be breaks that are allowed to be exploited. This game should be ever evolving and shifting, and an example of certain shots that hit a higher percentage one week drop off at a random, so that the same tactics cannot become the rule like there have consistently been year in, year out. Okay. So this is tough because of like my standing in the esports community, and I my coverage of it. I love NHL esports. A lot of my best friends now in real life are some of the best players in the world. You bring up a point about it's not treated as a realistic hockey sim. And here's the thing I will challenge you on. If you were to lose a game, all right, how many times have you lost a game on a goal that is just brutal, that you would expect a goaltender to make, whether it be a shot from the point that bounces off the boards and flies in off a shin pad and goes in? How many times is that it's insanely frustrating? And you see it way more in NHL 21 and online, like you see it in like posts and whatnot. The reason is because in video games, people don't want what actual hockey is in that sense. Like if you, I'll use this as an example because I think it's a perfect example and it's recent. If you go back and watch TJ Brody's goal against the Canadiens in Game 6, his shot it's going way wide, right off Petrie's shin pad and in the net. Now in hockey, that's a great play. Like that's a fine goal, happens all the time. No one thinks anything of it. Great big moment. In a video game, do you want that? Like, you didn't do anything to allow that. Like, you did not. It's a bad shot choice. Your player just gets hit, and I think that's a big debate. Is that a lot of people say they want realistic hockey sims, but I don't know if they know what they mean by that. Now, what you're saying about the mechanics. The mechanics every year, it's like I said, making a hockey game is just so damn difficult. I've seen them. I've gone to Vancouver. I've been to the studio. It is by far the hardest sport to make a video game for, just from like a motion capture and like mechanic standpoint. There's just so many things on the body involved. That being said, the face-off play, it is an actual joke that has not been patched. I'm seeing it in the Gaming World Championships. I'm about to commentate for the Central Division Club Champions, the guys that will represent the Central Division clubs for the $100,000 prize pool. And throughout the last 2 weeks that they've been going on, the face-off play is like prevalent. And it's like, you can go and defend it, but because there's auto-saucing and because of the way that it's set up, it's going in. Like, and it's just 50-50. And that's brutal. That is something that needs to be patched because that is a systematic thing that someone is doing to get the other AI to go and work towards. And there's nothing there's very little you can do to defend it. Because if you do defend it well, like I said, 50 to maybe 70% of the time that you can get over there and stop it. The other 30, if he auto sauces or if your guy doesn't get there quick enough, like it's going in. If it's a bad player switch, it's going in. Those are things that need to be patched. We haven't had one gameplay patch, and while I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion, I think gameplay has been better than it's been over the last 4 or 5 years. And before you guys freak out, I didn't say that it was the perfect gameplay. I'm just saying it's better than what it has been the last 4 or 5 years. Let me see, like the straight line down the wings with pushing the puck. I was super against that because it gave what was happening in NHL 19 and 20 was that you weren't receiving a penalty. You were basically just getting acceleration the whole time, which is why it was a big exploit early on. Now, it kind of makes sense to me. Like, if you don't get that big of a burst at all, but where you see it is when you're doing it along the boards and you have a defenseman that is still skating backwards. Because in NHL 21, when a defenseman turns around, he gets a big delay. That's where they nerfed it to make it more difficult to actually defend, which I think was a great addition. So when you're seeing the self sauces, I think you need to pay attention to when you're turning around the defenseman. That's why a lot of the times I say to just turn my defenseman around. Now you're going to say that's not realistic hockey. I agree. However, if you stay skating backwards for too long against someone that's going 99 speed, that could, It's always going to be very difficult, my man, for the realistic hockey sim versus video game. Some of the goals that I do, the goal line one, that kind of stuff, that needs to be patched. I agree. It needs to be patched. I don't know if you can do dynamic from week to week, but the best players in the game, okay, are the best players in the game because they learn the game. And they find ways to give themselves little advantages, just like in all sports. It's very difficult to play online because if you're playing just hockey, you're just going end to end, hoping for that one goal to go through, and it's not a lot of people, not as many. I think you'd be stunned at how many people wouldn't want that if that was the case. But I appreciate your the issues here. Like I 100% hear what you're saying. All right, synergies. Synergies in a card to card basis should be assigned by the user with the amount of sins based on the card level. Imagine getting a 95 Ovechkin and you earn synergies or not them in packs with Sellies, and you earn synergies or got them in packs like Sellies or captaincy add-ons. So you have a 95 Ovi and he has 3 for team synergies, 2 slots with 2 individual synergies. But once you get them, they are locked in. So you need to add 3 to distributor, 2 to speedster, 1 to workhorse to your Ovi, therefore making him a completely custom card, allowing you to cater to your playstyle or try to sell him in the marketplace for what you feel you made that card worth. And your Ovi might not perform like anyone else's. Truly building your ultimate team by crafting the cards you stop. If you've been watching my channel all year long, I've been saying I would love a synergy, like a custom build synergy system. Here is the issue. Speed is skating is all that matters in this game. Like if you tear it down, it's not like what all that matters. But if you tear it down and you're like, hey, here's 3 synergies, I mean, you just basically said it right here. You would give him distributor, speedster, and workhorse. Every single card would get that. Outside of like the lit Duchesne, because they would give him 99 shooting. So you would end up with the exact same stuff. Like imagine a Dougie Hamilton that had, speedster, workhorse, and wingman. Like that's all you would end up with, unfortunately. Now, if there was restrictions on the synergies you could put on, like once they hit a certain level of speed, you can't put a speed synergy on. Like I've used Cale Makar as an example. I love the fact that he's got shutdown and gladiator because it makes him able to body check. The synergy system needs to go. The custom build one, that's a dangerous game. In my opinion, they should just get rid of team-based synergies. 100%. Get rid of team-based synergies. Trade-ins for high-level cards. Did my 96 War Pack had garbage choices packed on untradeable gold oats last week? I already built the gold oats. I should be able to trade those in cards for a chance pack. We're guaranteed to give me a 90 plus. Not even a 95 equivalent player, but potential to be. So trade in the 95, 96 cards with 20 gold player cards. Get a +1 guaranteed 90 plus player, including gold icons or any past master sets. Thank you for your time. Sorry for the novel. GG's. 100%. They need exchanges. 100%. I agree. The fact of what I talked about earlier about the market being really safe now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that everything is untradeable. Like you're locked in. So 100%. They need to find a way to do exchanges. I hope that's added into 22 for sure. All right, so from Beatron, I feel like they need to slow the flow of the gameplay down a bit. Less reliant on cross-crease plays somehow. Make goalies more relevant to their overall rating. I have a harder time scoring an 87 goalie than a 96 Vazzy. Okay, so again, this is going to be a little bit placebo, but you don't have an easier time scoring on 87 goalie. Well, the only thing that would make it harder and different to score on is their aggression values. Because aggression is very important. It's how far they come out in the net. So different goals are going to go in easier on those goaltenders. I totally disagree with slowing the gameplay down a bit, man. The forcing the cross crease plays. The one thing I will say about cross creases, because early on in the game it became such a meme because every pass got through, but I think a lot of people didn't realize that in Huts, because the attributes start out a lot lower than Versus, defensive awareness was really low. Defensive awareness is the stat that improves or decreases your ability to intercept passes. And because it was so low, that's why everything was getting through. As it went on, it got a little bit better. The one thing I'll say, though, is that when you manually control a player, the thing I've noticed is that unless your stick is directly in the line of the puck, your guy will not make a move to intercept. So let's say you're standing, you're back skating all the way in front of your goaltender. Your goaltender's right to your back. And someone's going to pass right through the middle, okay? And you're leaned down with your stick down on the ice. If your stick is if he doesn't pass and basically hit your stick, is let's say it goes between your stick and your feet as it goes through, your manually controlled player will not make a motion to move his stick back, which I think is the biggest issue because now that is you're in position, but because you didn't get the exact trajectory of the stick right, and sometimes it's impossible, you didn't intercept the pass. I think that's the big issue there, and I hope that that's fixed. From Zach McDonald, it's not content related, but gameplay related. They need to give more line change options. Have a setting for noobs that keeps it as is. Add an advanced option where I can cycle through more than just 2 power play and penalty kill lines. There's not a coach in the world sending a line back out that was just on for a 3-minute shift dead tired. But yet, if I get a power play or penalty kill, my lines are tired and I'm forced to use them. That's silly. Give advanced controls to cycle, not just... Okay, the thing I'll say, how would you do that? Because this was a big topic when people were still using hybrid controls and they couldn't change their lines. They found a way to do it. How would you implement in-game without pausing how to do that? That's all. I would love to hear it. I'm not saying that's a bad idea. I just have no idea on the controller. They've basically mapped every button, so it makes it very difficult. Pelcontu, I have not even watched the video yet, but I can already say EA should hire you. Well, I am a game changer, so I guess that's technically pretty close. Trevor C says, need more competitive game modes every week or 2-week long game modes, like you said. Need more comp seasons, better rewards to grind for rivals, and a guaranteed rewards and champ for a certain amount of wins. Great vid. Yeah, man, I touched on this before. I'm not big on comp seasons. I think that you can get away with not having comps. The reason why I'm not huge on comp seasons is because... it splits the community even more, and we have a very small player base. I think that you can make rivals like comp seasons every single week. I mentioned this before, like 2-week long regular seasons for rivals. Have it tie into the event. Give the guys that hit diamond and make it plateaus. So it's not like the ultimate is like get 15% of the community, right? So it's always changing in terms of what rank you're hitting. It's like make it flat. If you have 50 games, right? Do the math. So if you can get roughly 700 or 800 points for a win, right? Then make it 30 wins will get you a guaranteed pack that ties into the event that is going on right now, and you can only earn that pack by playing rivals. You cannot get it anywhere else. That makes the card exclusive, fun. It's a flex. It's something to chase. And it makes rivals more important, so. All right, guys, so that is going to do it for episode 5. We're still not even through the first video. I'm trying to go through everyone's comments because I love doing this. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. When you comment right now and you have an idea for NHL 22, I'm going to get to your video. I'm going to get to it. Like, I'm going to get through part 1 or part 2, part 3, part 4. I'm going to go end this video. I'm going to keep going through the comments, and because I think that eventually we can wind it down to a couple of really, really good things and bring that to the table and see if we can't get that help maybe pushed into NHL 22 or 23. Who knows? All right, guys, thanks for watching, and thank you for all the subscribes. It has been wild. I'm almost at 26,000. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one.